This is the music is my weapon of choice panel. Now what does this mean to me? Well, life is a war. I mean, we have to fight literally from our survival, the day that we're born and conceived into this world, and we breathe, and that begins the fight for life, right? Well, through my life and some of my hardest times and my darkest moments, what has been there to pull me up? That's right, music. That's the one thing I can count on as a constant in my personal life, whether it's just me going to play the drums or me putting on an album that I like or something like that. I'm able to pick myself up, or the music is able to pick me up and put me into a place that I'd rather be. So when I went looking, and Courtney went looking through the state of Michigan to see who could sit on a panel to talk most about how music has affected them in an actual factual situation, there were several people that stood out in the state of Michigan. Now, we're not new to this game. Think Live Music's been in business about 4 years in the state of Michigan, about 22 years total. We've worked with most every national bands that you guys have talked with. Locals and nationals, we treat them all the same. And I'm just saying that to validate my opinion of this board in front of you here. So without further ado, I know everyone's got time constraints, I'd like to introduce Jen Lorinsky. Did I say that correct? She heads a group called Mosh Pit Nations. I'd like for her to go ahead and introduce herself and tell you what she does.
I'm Jen Lorinsky, otherwise known as Jen Mosh Pit Nation, because Facebook made me change my name. But I started Mosh Pit Nation about 5 years ago, just because I'm a show junkie and I love metal shows and go to as many as possible. And I was spending a ton of time trying to find out what was going on around the state. I know how to build a website and do marketing, so I put all the shows on a website so that my friends would stop bothering me. And then I started telling people about the website, and it's just grown to something that I never even dreamed possible over 5 years. We've got about 5,000 people around this that follow us on social media and on the website and emails and stuff like that. And the goal really is to just connect the people to their music. And really get them out to shows, introduce them to new bands that they haven't heard about, and get them more active in the heavy metal scene. It really is a very much a do-it-yourself kind of scene right now. We don't have a radio station. We don't have, you know, major media outlets at all for heavy metal. They just keep dying and get murdered all the time. And so it's a do-it-yourself kind of organization. We've got people all over the state that contribute, add shows to the calendar, help promote everything that's going on, and I call it a grassroots heavy metal movement.
And there you go, that's Jen from Mosh Pit Nation. To her left, we have my man JB Batchel. Am I saying that right, brother? Batchel? Wonderful. Say it again. All right, there we go, man. This gentleman here has the Foundry in Jackson, Michigan. You want to go ahead and talk about that? Why the Foundry? Why Jackson? What are you doing down there, man?
Well, I've been in that building for 10 years. I mean, it was a hip hop club for 7.5 years, and I ran sound for that, maintained the PA, so on. And my best friend's the owner, so I guess I'm kind of connected there. It just wasn't working out. Hip hop, I hated it. And for 3 years, I told him, we need to do rock and roll. We need to do rock and roll. Get rid of this shit. Let's fix the PA. Let's make a nice stage. Let's do rock. If you build it, they will come. Kind of an attitude. And I told him that. He didn't believe me for 3 years, and then all of a sudden something happened, and he called me up one day after his 41st birthday, which we always go to Jamaica for his birthday, but I didn't get to go because I had just had back surgery. And he comes home and he goes, "What are you doing for the next 6 weeks?" And I'm like, "Nothing." "Why?" He goes, "Yeah, you are. We're going to rebuild the club. We're going to gut it. We're going to bring in a big PA. I want you to make sure that happens, and we're going to open up as a live rock bar." 2 years later, here we are. I was supposed to have a big announcement for today, but I unfortunately do not. It has still not been 100% confirmed, but September 18th and 19th, Friday and Saturday, you guys are all going to want to have plans and be in Jackson, Michigan for Foundry Fest 2015. It's going to be 2 days of live rock, and once I get 100% confirmation, you are really going to shit yourself who is coming to Jackson. It's going to be huge. A little bit about me. I was down and out, Orlando, Florida. I was 18, homeless, and I lived in a homeless shelter in Orlando, Florida. Slept on a concrete floor with a blanket and a pillow. Had 3 changes of clothes, and basically that was it. A buddy of mine from high school, because I went to high school in Orlando, calls me over one day, and he's like, "Hey, I want to give you a place to live, and I want to get you a job." I got my first job in music. I was in bands all through high school, started touring, and it kind of started from there. I started pulling cable and knocking pins in on stages and stuff. Exactly. Got picked up on my first tour like 3 months later, and off and on I've toured. I also was in the military. I was a construction electrician in the Navy for 1.5 years, and then blue to green, went in the Army, was a generator mechanic in the Army, blew my knee out and got out. So I can kind of relate to some of the stories that were told up here. I've worked on the road. I've been around the country several times. I've been around the world several times. And I've worked for some of the biggest bands there are, and I've worked for some of the not so biggest bands. And to be honest with you, I like the not so biggest bands a lot more than I do the bigger bands. So anyway, my name's JB, and I run the Foundry.
All right, put your hands together, man. That's right. And next, I'd like to introduce John Collier from Michigan Cthulhu Entertainment. Is that right, brother?
Yep. Yeah.
All right, there we go. I've been watching him on YouTube. You can YouTube and Google all of these people, man. You guys are crazy. Doing all kinds of shit. So, John Collier, Cthulhu Entertainment.
Yep, well, you said my name. I'm John, and I book in the greater Detroit area, sometimes downtown. I run out of about 4 to 6 venues. We're only at about 2.5 years right now, so I'm the rookie pretty much up here. The first year, I was just messing around. I found a band I really liked, and I went to Ohio to go see them. And they never came to Michigan, and I was like, "What are you guys doing? Like, how can I get you up here?" And I ended up, coaxing them into coming up. Gave them some weed. They were pretty big into that, and a few $100, and didn't know what I was doing. It wasn't really something that I expected to continue with too much. But after I waited, and the show finally happened. It took about a year before I could finally get them up here. But when we opened the doors, there was like 70 people waiting outside in line, and I had never expected that. I didn't really know how to promote or nothing. And that band's on Metal Blade now. They just got signed a couple months ago. They're not even really a metal band, but they're a little bit more like experimental-ish. But labels nowadays are booked, signing a lot of other bands to expand. So not sure else what to talk about, but I've done a few shows over here in Lansing. It's kind of hard to expand being a DIY promoter nowadays, but I just try to have fun. I try to make it fun for all the bands that come through, even if they're a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. I try to make it feel different than just being like 100% professional. I try to be somewhere in the middle. So I think that's about as much as I can really say. I'm not
John
sure.
Collier, ladies and gentlemen, from Cthulhu Entertainment. Well, the name of the panel is Music is My Weapon of Choice. You guys got that email, right? Life's a struggle, right? So you can do anything in the world, right, Jen? You could have a hobby as a golfer or something like that, right?
Well, I couldn't hear what you said.
You can do anything you want, really, like in your spare time, right? Like a lot of what you do it at weird hours. Don't we have weird hours?
Oh yeah, definitely. I have a regular job, and so it's not just Mosh Pit Nation all day and night. I don't know that I would want it to be, because I think that you have that line between passion and job, and if it goes into job, maybe you don't lose some of the passion, but you lose a little bit of the excitement for it if that's what you do day in and day out. Even for me going to shows, like I don't get excited to go to a show anymore just because I go to 3 of them every week. And so, it's still fun, but you don't get the little butterflies in your stomach, and you know that the show is coming before they announce it, and so it just kind of loses a little bit of its excitement. But I feel like I always had some extra time and some extra knowledge, and I would stand at shows and know that I can't play an instrument to save my life. Like I stopped piano lessons because I just couldn't do it. Like, I can manage the triangle, but that'd probably be about it. So I'd stand at the shows and just think, I want to be in this somehow. But how do you do that when you're not on stage? And so it was really just creating my own little niche, you know, in my spare time to make it happen. I knew that I wasn't good at going out and meeting a ton of people. I'd kind of rather be home reading a book sometimes, but I knew if I met the right people and kind of got the right people on board and just took baby steps every day is what I told myself. Just one more email today, one little task to keep it moving, and it's just snowballed. You know, it's just absolutely snowballed.
All right, man. JB, brother. So you probably get some submissions every month for bands trying to play your venue, right? How in the world does a band stand out and get noticed by a gentleman like you?
The first thing that I look at is, you know, did the band just send me a submission that says, hey dude, we're so-and-so and we want to play your venue. Thanks, and their name and, you know, their Facebook page link, and that's it.
Right.
Biggest thing, I mean, I'm a grammar Nazi to a degree, and if you send me a submission and you say that our band wants to play my venue, but you say R, as in A-R-E, yeah, I'm just gonna respectfully decline. I mean, realistically, it's more about the music and whether or not the band. I'm burned out on music to a degree because there's too much. Remember the days when we grew up when it was rock, punk, metal, country, rap, and that was pretty much it. I mean, you didn't have, now there's post-hardcore. Well, what the fuck is post-hardcore? You know, what the hell is post-hardcore? Because growing up when we grew up, I mean, you know, we're the same age pretty much. I don't know how old you are, but okay, you know, but you know what I'm saying.
42.
Hardcore is still alive. I mean, there's a lot of hardcore out there.
Yeah.
So in order for there to be such thing as post-hardcore, hardcore would have to have died.
Right. That's that grammar Nazi you're talking about.
well, but you know, so it's like, you know, are you a metal? Okay, so you're a metal band.
Right.
Okay, yeah. Well, we're post-hardcore. Well, no, you're a metal band. You play metal. And so I just kind of beat it into their heads. It's like, you know, and the funniest thing that's ever happened, and I could print it off and send it to everybody, or I could post it on Facebook. A band sent me a submission. I think there were 4 words out of the 2 paragraphs he sent me that were spelled correctly. There was no punctuation, and I was in a really shitty mood that day. So I retyped his submission correctly and sent it back to him. He sends me back, you just resent me everything that I sent you? I said, no, I just corrected everything that you sent me.
That's right.
But you know, it really is just, you know, I get so many. I mean, when you're a venue and you're a promoter and you do, I mean, my email, I had to open up a second email account just for my other side of things. You know, so national bands that I'm trying to bring in and stuff can send me their riders and I can get contracts and so on, because I get 100 emails every 2 days from bands to fans wanting to know what's coming up. You know, FoundryJackson.com is the website. It stays pretty updated. The Facebook page, FoundryNightClub.com, you know, they stay pretty updated. I appreciate that, you know, you want that personal service, but when you have 4,000 Facebook friends that, you know, all of them are sending you messages asking you who's coming to the Foundry or what's going on this weekend, I just got it to the point to where I just copy and paste the link to the page. So here's our calendar, check it out. But, you know, so realistically, it's not that a band stands out, it's, are they different? Because I don't want to book the same stuff over and over again. I try not to use the same bands on every show because people get tired of that. People aren't going to come out for that. You know, whereas, you know, if I keep it fresh, keep it new, keep bringing stuff to Jackson that's never been to Jackson, because that's one of the biggest complaints that I had among my friends and the people in the circle. There's too much of the same stuff. You know, I mean, how many times could Mushroom Head play in Jackson, you know, on a festival? I like Mushroom Head. They're kick-ass. They put on a hell of a show. Their drummer's a friend of mine. I'm friends with several of the members, actually. But how many times can they come to Jackson to play at a festival?
Rockapalooza? What? I'm sorry.
What? What was that? I've never heard of that. But, you know, so that's kind of where how I book bands. I book bands on, you know, is this something that people are going to want to see? If it's not something that I think people are going to come to, then, you know what? I'm kind of selfish in the sense that I ask bands, you know, what do you offer? What do you have to offer? What do you bring to me? You know, yeah, I understand that, you know, I have, you know, a 12,000 watt PA and a Midas M32, and, you know, I have all this great shit, and my PA sounds better than, according to everybody that plays there, says it sounds better than everyone else in town, but what can you offer me? I mean, it costs money to put on shows. Are you going to bring 10, 15 people? You know, at least. I mean, I'm not asking you to fill my room, but can you bring a few people? You know, you want me to pay you $300, but you're not going to promote, you're not going to post an event on your Facebook page and do any kind of promotion. Those are the things that I look at when I book bands.
Thank you very much, man. It was wonderful. I enjoyed that.
Go Rangers.
Nice. All right, John. So I kind of figured you got your pulse on the local scene. I really do, man. I think you got it going on there. If you could prop 2 up-and-coming Michigan acts, I don't care genre, who would they be and why? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's a tough question. Should have asked this before, so I could have had like a couple seconds to think about it.
We'll go back to you.
One of my favorite bands right now from our area, they're actually from Flint. They're called 1876. I don't know if anyone's ever checked them out. They're like a southern rock hardcore mix. They have so much energy, man. They're a blast. They're actually building, you know, they're picking up steam down in Detroit, my area. I try to book them like every couple months or every, you know, something like that, and throw them on a show where people that don't know them will come see them. But anybody that sees them is like, man, where'd you find these guys?
What was that name?
1876. I asked them what it means, and they said they saw an address on the side of the road. That's how they picked their band's name, and that kind of fits how they are as guys too. So, and they have a song called R&R, like the whiskey. So they're pretty rowdy guys. They like playing floor shows, all kinds of things like that. And a band that I hold close to me too is a band called Adventurer. They're post-hardcore, but they're like they're a three-piece band, and all of them do vocals, and they're doing really well right now. They just got signed by Blue Swan Records, which is I don't know if anyone knows who Dance Gavin Dance is. You know who they're? It's the guitarist of that label. It's mostly West Coast bands like Cali and Oregon, but they're the first band out of the West that got signed to that label right now. So it's really good for them, and they're from Chesterfield area, which is about 30-40 minutes north of Detroit. So.
Wonderful. That's a great answer. Thank you very much for the recommendation. Post-hardcore is the key. This is the thing. It's the theme this year.
And I could probably sit here
because I'm with my hand in the middle, bro. I don't get it yet. Hardcore's still here, guys. Sick of it all. I don't know. I can go down the list. I dig it. A Southern rock like Corrosion and Conformity, Clutch.
What's that?
Like kind of Corrosion and Conformity or Clutch, kind of that 1876.
They remind me of, I don't know a lot of older bands. I actually kind of jumped into. I don't know. No, I really don't.
Older band.
No, I learn new bands every day. I know a lot of the modern ones. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, the Guns N' Roses hit classic rock. I didn't know that. Yeah, it was with me. I'm just saying. Like, what? This is my dad's station. Rush is classic rock. Rush is classic rock, man. But I think they were classic the day they were born. And Rush is some beautiful music. So, I want to talk a little bit about how music sort of is like your weapon to deal with life. We can pass it over this way again real quick. We're going to try to do like a 2 minutes real fast so everyone's got time constraints. Again, thank you very much. your time is very precious. And despite the turnout here, I want everyone to know, you know, we are videotaping this. This absolutely will be used to promote the upcoming events, the upcoming roll of votes. And so I encourage everyone to link and Facebook and get involved a little bit. I'm really proud of all of you guys for showing up here and taking a minute out of your very busy, very hectic schedules and your personal lives. Come in here for free and like offer advice to whoever shows up and talk to us.
Free.
Oh, you didn't talk to Courtney.
No, Courtney promised me a bottle chat.
Oh, and I'm with you. We just gotta go down to Omar's.
I heard there was weed here.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It smells stanky outside. I'm just saying. I think we kind of covered why music, but I would really like a personal story, if it's okay with you, 2 or 3 minutes, of a situation that music really was your weapon to deal with something. If you could just come down to earth with me and let me have that.
You know, I think for me, it would have to be, I got divorced. I got married very young, very stupid, had a baby. It was just, the baby was great. He just graduated from high school and made it. But it was a rotten divorce and he was a rotten husband. And I think like that's when I kind of started to go out and listen to live music more. I mean, I was in my very early 20s, you know, you couldn't really go to concerts before that. And music was always very much a part of my life, but it wasn't until I really started going to concerts and feeling that energy live. And I remember seeing Pantera play at the Deltaplex on the Reinventing the Steel tour. And they played This Love, and that song, like I remember that moment in my life and just thinking, okay, I can move on now. And I would say Pantera definitely got me through my divorce, and a lot of that, you know, that anger and that aggression, to be able to get that out and bring that in and feel that energy is, yeah, I would have to say that's what it was.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing. JB, you're not going to get away from it. We're going to talk about the same story. I would like the same answer from you, sir. Just give it to me real. Why music, and what happened, bro?
Well, it started in junior high. I had a neighbor that turned me on to a totally different genre of music than I was used to. I mean, I was listening to Too Short and MC Rock Bass and DJ Easy Rock and all the stuff that, you know, was out back then. And my buddy turned me on this band. It was probably freshman year, maybe sophomore year. Turned me on to Mother's Milk from Red Hot Chili Peppers. That record changed my fucking life. I bought a drum set. I made my mom, wait, let me rephrase that. I made my mom buy me a drum set. And I went through hell as a child with my mother. I mean, the things that my mother used to say to me, her and I were talking about a little while ago. The shit that went on in my house was fucked up. Drums gave me an outlet that made me fall to the other side of the statistical categories. Because the shit that I went through as a kid growing up, I should be on the other side of the statistics. I should be dead in prison somewhere, because that's what society says. You know, children from abused families and abused lifestyles and so on always revert to the negativity. Drums was the one thing that really put me over the edge. And it gave me that, I could go out in the garage, set my drums up, and just beat the living hell out of them. Instead of turning into a Menendez and, you know, doing that to my mom. So, you know, the music, I formed a band in high school called Angry Inside. We were signed for 13 months to Sony Music. That was, we did 2 records in a year with them, 4 records total. That was how music kind of saved my life. That was, you know, my weapon. I just, yeah, that's the only thing I can really get without getting too emotional.
I get you. Thank you. You're a drummer too. That's I'm finding out more about you. Yeah, put your hands together, please. John, I'm going to give you the benefit of having 2 people previous. I'm trying to make up quick.
I don't really have any stories that is deep or serious, I think, as both of you. But the only thing I can really talk about for me is like the building, like the sense of community that I've had like around what I've been doing and all of that, like all the local bands. One story I can think of is the first venue that I started booking shows at. A lot of people told me that were older, you know, like don't book at this venue. I'm sure you probably know what it is because it's the first one when you first started talking to me. I don't really want to mention their name, but no, it wasn't the Foundry, but they started canceling shows on me quite frequently. The owner, he just, you know, he didn't have the heart for it anymore. He owned the place since the 80s, and he started giving up. And I started bringing in national bands, and I had this 5-band package coming in with a band from England, Texas, Florida, California, and was it going out? Check. And Illinois. And you know, basically one band from every corner of our country and a band from England, and they've never played here before. And he called me. The show was on a Monday, and the load-in was at 5, and he called me at midnight on Sunday, and I had to answer it. I usually didn't answer him half the time, but I had a bad feeling, and he contacted me, and he's like, "I'm sorry, man, we can't do the show." And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, "Can we reschedule for the next day?" And I was like, "No, they're from England, they can't reschedule anything. Like, you know, they're playing in Cleveland the next day, or Chicago, one of those two." But I sank, and I knew that, like, most likely I'd end up having to pay like $1,000 out of pocket, which between me and my buddy booking at the time, we both had like $80. So like, I knew that would burn bridges, and it was gonna be one of those things I'd have to, you know, tell the agent I'm sorry, you know, and then lose credit. And it doesn't take long to lose credit in music, if anybody's been a part of it. So I mean, negativity goes further than positivity half the time. But anyways, I called every single local band on the show. I called as many of my friends as I could in an hour. I called like 20 people, and it was like 4 in the morning. I was angry, and I was just like, forget it. Whatever happens, happens. I woke up at probably like 11, and one of my local bands found us a place to do it at. We were going to do it at Pavilion if we had to, and you know, if we would have lost money, at least, you know, we would have made more than what I could have paid them. And we ended up doing like 280 walk-ups. Just because of word of mouth, and we ended up giving those guys their money. I gave the people that let us use the venue like triple the amount of money just out of gratitude. And if it weren't for everybody, you know, pitching in together, you know, we wouldn't have been able to do that. So small things like that. Well, it really isn't small, but
no, that's
something like that. Like I really appreciate out of what we've done. And a lot of things don't happen like that out of music and other things. So that's my story.
Sounds good to me, ladies and gentlemen. Put your hands together, John Collier. You know, at the risk of sounding cheesy, I'm going to go right for the rock star story question. Give me a highlight. One highlight of a band, a situation you've been in, 2 minutes or less, you can share with the audience about an experience. It could be small band, big band, just something personal in that direction.
I'll go back to Pantera and Phil Anselmo kissed my cheek. Yes, it was fantastic. It was just last year, and he played at the intersection with Illegals. I don't remember the whole name, but he stayed after that show and met every single fan and signed anything they wanted and took pictures, and then went over to the bar across the street, and we got to go hang out, and he was awesome, and he kissed my cheek. So that's my favorite one.
Wow, you really want me to pick just one?
Well, we only got a couple minutes. You got a decent one.
I'd have to say that getting to put Lucille to bed after a BB King show in Memphis, that's probably, I just happened to be on a show, it was BB King, and he's sitting in his chair, he's doing his meet and greet, he's holding Lucille while he's trying to sign, and I'm like, would you like me to take that? His guitar tech is putting other shit away, and I'm like, would you like me to put that in her, put her to bed? And he looked at me and he goes, you're the first technician that's ever called her and treated her like a person. Yes, and handed me Lucille. And I carried Lucille in my arms like this to the road case. And the roadie was like, what are you doing with that? I'm like, it took me to put her to bed. Where's her case? And he grabs her case, puts it up on a road case, opens it up. And it was like the sweetest, I almost passed out. I'm touching one of the most iconic freaking stringed instruments ever played. And I set her in her case, and I just looked for a minute, and the tech comes over and goes, "Thanks, buddy." And that was the end of it.
Beautiful, that's beautiful. I've never done that.
I don't even know. I mean, I don't really have any stories with any like huge artists or anything like that. I mean, I've got to see quite a few bands that I've had grow to be pretty big over the last couple of years, so pretty proud of that. Where I've booked bands where we only gave them $30 and now they're getting paid like $2,000. So, and I get to be one of those guys that, you know, like an old football dad, like, you know, I used to have that, you know, like I used to do that and had, you know, I had that band before, but I don't know. I mean, when I first started, I kind of miss it too. I made most of the, unless they were straight edge, I made pretty much all the bands that I've ever had on tour. I grabbed like 5 PBRs and make them shotgun beers with me. It was like a tradition that I was doing for a long time, but ever since I left my that old venue that I was talking about, we've kind of pushed away from that. But I mean, most of the bands that I had around that time, like, we'll never probably forget stuff like that, and I never will either. So, yeah, we did that too a little bit. But.
At this time, I'd like to know if there's anyone in the audience who'd like to ask this panel a question at all about the music industry here in the state of Michigan, or anything like that. All right, that's cool, man. Ladies and gentlemen, any closing remarks? Rock on. Rock on, that's right.
Get to a show.
Yeah.
Don't be scared.
Yeah.
Jackson's 30 minutes up the road if you drive like I do. So, you know, it's not a bad venue. So get to a show.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, you guys are very welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The Music is My Weapon of Choice panel. Thank you all very much for joining us this afternoon. I hope we met your time schedules, and thank you all very much for being courteous. Some stories are amazing.